There was no real like clear start to Dreamer. We just kind of like started writing songs, and then eventually it was like, we should probably put out a record.
So there are so many songs on that record that we can't actually play as a full band.
That's so true.
We didn't write them as a full band. We wrote them as a drum part and then building on that.
There was just this period of time where we were trying to figure out how to write music with each other for the first time, kind of. But also, we're trying to do that and record ourselves at the same time.
And learn how to record ourselves.
Yeah, that was a whole separate process. And so it made, like, the general... it just made everything during that record not go as smoothly as it could.
So we put it out, and it, like, was really well received, and like people liked it, and people pre-ordered it, and all these nice things, and so there was some success that I think helped motivate us.
It served as a great learning process, whereas coming into this record, I feel like we had it all figured out. We like knew what we wanted to do.
This is a great time to ask. Do you want either of these cameras on? I didn't really know what the future was, but I wanted to work on new music. I just felt like recording again. So I started recording demos. Any idea I came up with, I recorded it. And at this point, probably taken maybe 3 or 6 months off of getting together regularly.
Bruce like sat me down and like showed me his ideas for the new record, and he had like a dark intro kinda, and then he showed me like the lighter intro, and it wasn't until he showed me the lighter intro that I was sort of realized what he was going for. He had like this like idea of a shell of a record, and that was what really got me thinking about what we were going to do next, because the process with Dreamer sucked so much.
Honestly, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, it just like sucked. And after he showed me those demos, I was like, oh, okay, so like if we are gonna do this again and like actually try to do this, we should like honestly like chunk out a good block of time and like spend time on trying to like get in like the record's head and like do this. And Chris a while ago had mentioned how cool it would be to go to a cabin and work on music.
From my perspective, it was like, I guess I had convinced you, and you said something about a cabin, and everyone seemed down with it, and like we picked some dates that worked for people, and I was like, alright, we're getting a fucking cabin, like I'm gonna book this immediately before anyone changes their mind.
Yeah, because I mean we didn't know what we were doing at that point, and that lit the fire. You know, we had a deadline, we had a goal, we had ideas that we were excited about.
I mean, we had been putting a lot of work into the demos prior to going up there. But
we really reworked some of them.
Yeah, we went through a ton of them, and others like were just so great that we just kind of left them as they were. But we like went up there with an idea of demos, but no solid ideas, and like really like approached the process from a whole new way.
The cabin has like such a homey feel to it because it used to be where like they lived year round. So
we get in there and we're like, you know, jamming all of our heavy equipment inside of this really nice room and like taking all the stuff that's in there and like
being assholes,
bringing it down to the basement, like
move this shit out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Like taking all these shelves of knickknacks and taking them down because we know for sure that we're gonna play so loud that it's just gonna fall anyways.
All the music stuff was just constantly set up, so if you wanted to wake up and go, I would go over and like diddle on my guitar or whatever.
We could listen to the demo right away, right there, while we were still like sitting down our instruments and all that. It was like, it was a great setup. Like, through total luck, this place was just perfect.
Every day we at least had an idea and at least had a show, and it seems to me the way that we've been able to work the best together is to have sort of like a beginning and an end of a song, and everything was just like really like organic and like really working like the whole time. Like everybody had like great ideas.
Compared to how we did Dreamer, it was like seriously a total 180. We
were talking about it the whole time.
Yeah, we were so happy about it. Everyone was just like enjoying themselves and having a great time, and it was nice and peaceful and calm, and like we weren't like feeling stressed or down on ourselves because things weren't getting done or whatever, or we were like stuck on things. Like we did what we wanted to do and what we could do and what we felt like we could accomplish.
We're around each other all the time. We were coming up with ideas that were surprising to each other. And before we knew it, a couple hours went by and we had a song that we were really, really into in ways that we couldn't have written if we hadn't have done that.
I always think about the end of 3. There's like a really big riff section with like, and there's like this cut, and me and Steve were jamming out that song while people were like going around doing lunch, whatever. And then out of nowhere, Steve starts doing that syncopation thing and starts like catching his rides. And I was like, oh my god, it was like so fucking sick. I was like, this just needs like a sick like part like there.
I think we were even joking about that part. And honestly, that's one of my favorite songs in the record.
So which one are we doing? 4 or 5?
Well, it'll be 4, I think.
But it's labeled 5 right now.
Yeah, we'll just call them what they originally were called.
Are we gonna listen to it again?
Why, Jeff?
I don't know.
Why don't we listen to the MIDI version this time?
Maybe the CD.
I mean, we can listen to both versions. But...
There's something like really magical and cool about playing through all the songs together, like in that cabin, and that's how we rehearsed a lot of them. Is we would play through like an entire side of the record, like as opposed to
that was the cool part.
Every day we would build on what we had.
Having them constantly compared to each other made you realize maybe what one song was missing.
And like we got to the end of the darker stuff, and we found a point. I feel like where we were all like, we're like kind of pushing this too hard, and then we tried writing it at night once, and we decided like.
You're right.
We were all kind of like talking about different things, and we were like, let's just take a chill.
Yeah, we just like stopped playing. We were like, all right, let's stop. So at that point, we kind of decided that we should move on to just tracking what we had for drums.
The cabin was like acoustically, as far as like recording, just so perfect. It's like we brought all of our studio gear like up there while we did it.
There's like a clear shot into this garage where Chris threw a little SM7 on this little stool and
trash can.
I don't remember anything. Nothing's real.
It was the beer bottle trash can, which we filled multiple times.
Oh, right. Like, we just threw that mic there, and that was our verb. And you gated it with the snare, so every time
you hit it, was
that's what you're hearing.
The trash open. It wasn't too sterile or too polished. It was just like an idea of like, we know how like we all love the way it sounds in the cabin, and we're all doing these certain things that are dirty and kind of raw, and like that only helps the process that much more, and like the final product that much more if we're conscious of that as we're recording it here in like a more sterile studio environment. Like things were like thought of in that context, as opposed to the way before where we were only thinking about things in the studio context.
Recording ourselves has become such a comfortable thing for all of us to do. Like when you guys record drums, like Steve and Chris just work together so constantly that
we're one brain.
Seriously. It's the smoothest thing.
You're a single brain.
We're all so used to this process and so comfortable with each other and so comfortable with recording and all that stuff that it just happened so much easier and so much more naturally, and all of us felt so much better about it and had done it so many times that it just went exactly how we could have wanted it to go.
There was a doll sitting in a chair, like in the hallway, like when you walk in. It's like a Raggedy Ann doll. I named her Samantha. I don't know why.
Arbitrarily?
Yeah, because it was funny, and it was like a regular Raggedy Ann doll, but it was also pretty creepy looking. So I would just like put it weird places. I would kind of like
bathroom or...
like in the bathroom, where like I would put it in Bruce's guitar case and he would open his guitar in the guitar case, or like put it in people's beds and things like that. But it would always be like, it was like a thing I made a point to do every day. Like we wouldn't talk about it. It would just, somebody would find her somewhere, like
in the cabinet or in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, eventually it became a point. Like, I put a knife beside Samantha and put it in her bed or something along those lines. We threw her off the loft, hanging by a mic cord.
Oh my god, I forgot that.
Really table, hanging by the neck.
I guess the owners of the Youngs are gonna watch this and be like, "Oh my god, they aren't allowed back."
We had talked about how we were on such a good roll that we didn't want to drag out the record. So basically when we left the cabin, we had the dark half of the record in our minds was totally finished. We felt really good about everything we'd done. So when we got back, we spent a lot of time making sure that the second half of the record was as well thought out and had as much time spent on it as the first half. I had these ideas that had just been going while I was at the cabin that I'd sat down to work on. And what's like my favorite thing to do when I'm working on a song is sometimes I don't even necessarily care how the song comes out. I really just want to get the rest of the guys stoked on it too. So like I'm just like, oh, like this part's gonna be like this and then this, and oh, they're gonna be so stoked, and hell yeah, okay, cool. Like, so like that's how I was making those songs. I just wanted to get everybody as excited about it as I was.
We had recorded drums for 8 of the songs, right? So 5 of the 8 were the dark songs, and we decided to keep the drums that we recorded at the cabin for those 5 songs, and then for the light songs, record somewhere else.
We got a great opportunity to track our drums at UMass Lowell, which is like a nice contrast to the sounds we got at the cabin. We took the time that we wanted to with the second half of the record, the later half of the record, and like really established like a very specific like production idea for it. I feel like all of us really felt was like an important foundation to lay down like for both halves, the way we like chose to do drum tracks specifically in the cabin for the dark side, and then drum tracks specifically for the light side at UMass Lowell. It like really set up both halves of the record. We got to try like so many cool things like doing this record. Like we always had like a cool distant mic we affected really well that we triggered with the snare that like gave the snare some new like real crazy presence, and we recorded in 2 like really incredible rooms, and we got to like really experiment with like what room mic combinations would do the best with the drums.
Yeah, I figure the way we'll do it is we'll have like Chris is at the end of that song doing like a cool little pad thing, and I have a pad thing, and then the electronic drums start for I think it's 2 of the progression, and then my guitar will come in. Do we have the tempo for this guy?
I mean that like kind of translated into the creativity of like the record and recording the process too. Like we seriously like we have had nothing but time, and as opposed to Dreamer, we didn't set a deadline for ourselves, so we kind of had like endless time to try new things and experiment and like really leave like no stone unturned as far as like if someone wasn't happy with something, we redid it, and if someone like listened to something good and it wasn't totally perfect, we had the time to be able to redo those things. And
I was actually going to bring up that point too, that when we came back and we were done with everything, you had so much time and you spent all of that time on this record. Like, we'd be here every day, but for anywhere from 5 to 8 hours a day, you were working on this record. You're working through editing, you're working through mixing, you're working through remixing, you're working through remixing, you're working through remixing.
Yeah, seriously, like
and weeks went by, and by the time you were ready for mix 1, we were like,
we were like walking out of Dreamer feeling so disheartened because
seriously,
we just figured it out as we went, and we like kind of like patched it together as we went. But
yeah,
it was so nice to be able to, on this process, to be able to really focus in and decide what we were going to do and lock down the work regimen and like know what needed to be done, what didn't need to be done.
Mike and Teresa, we actually had a budget this time to be like, guys, come on in, let's spend a day together, let's work through all these parts, and we went through the whole record together. We wrote down, it'd be cool if strings were here, it'd be cool if strings to this here, and then that's as much as we thought into it, because Mike and Teresa are so good at what they do. They come in, we put them in a room, just let them go, and what they come up with is, we just couldn't believe it. It's like Christmas the whole time. They just
yeah, seriously, they play and it's like, that's what this song needed.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think we need to tweak it just a little bit to follow Bruce's part a little bit, because it's kind of clashing in some spots, but because right now it's but we could do. Kind of like drag it out more. Yeah. My favorite moment of this entire record, by far, and there's so many great moments, is at the end of The Dark Side. We trying to figure out how to transition into a major chord to go into song 6. Yeah. And we were talking about it, and they were in the other room, and they were kind of jamming through it, and I was like, damn, how am I going to explain this to them? Like, I'm not even sure how I really want to do it. So I was like, guys, so it starts down here, and then there's this weird synthy thing that kind of builds up and goes into this chord, and then that turns into the 5 chord of this new major chord. And I'm expecting them to be like, okay, let's play it through a few times, but instead they go, okay, and then
yeah, and they just nail it.
I play the song, and they do this thing where they start with this little tremolo, like, and then they start to drag it up into the key with the synth. They've heard the song once, and it's, we're all just sitting there watching them do this, and watching them just make the transition of this record from these two big ideas that we just couldn't really figure out how to bridge. This is a full year of us trying to figure this out. Yeah, we put them in the room and they do it immediately.
And first take.
And what they did is what we kept. We didn't do anything. And that's easily my favorite moment on the record. It's just so cool. They're just so talented, and I can't believe that they're in our lives to do things like that for us.
So we got to a point where we decided on the theme of the record. We knew we expected a theme, and the music was being shaped up to fit that theme, and we kind of started forming the record and the idea of the dark and light type of idea. And at that point we started looking for artists, just throughout the internet and throughout people we had seen posting great work online, and we came across Nevin Doyle. His artwork is truly incredible and was so in line with what we were looking for out of artwork for the type of message we were trying to get across with our record.
I kind of told Nevin the idea behind the dark and the light side that we had, and said that we wanted to represent that in some way through art. And we sent him the demos we did from the cabin, and from there we pretty much just said do your thing.
He's been an absolute dream to work with, and has totally executed the vision we had for this so perfectly, and has brought so many great ideas to the table that have brought that vision even to a new level of what we expected it to be, that I really don't think any of us could have been happier with what we got out of Nevin. He's really been such a professional and so creative and so wonderful to us. Going into this writing process, the only hope we have is that we would all enjoy ourselves and have a pressure-free time and write a record we were proud of. And so far, we have done nothing but give ourselves the time to do that, and set up a process to do that, and just enjoy ourselves and have a fun time. And we can put it out in our own time in our own way and just be proud of it as it is.
It couldn't have, the whole timeline of this band really couldn't have happened any other way for us to still be as happy as we are with this record, because like you were saying, up until this point we didn't really know what we were doing. We were
it was kind of a question mark.
Yeah, we were doing a lot of things where we were just kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what stuck, as far as engineering techniques, writing techniques, being in a band together. We were all just kind of trying everything out, and some things worked, some things didn't, some things were grueling, some things were worse, and then we finally get to the point where we're all, it's been a few years. We're all used to each other and the process and how we ideally want it to go, and that's how we set out doing this. We're like, okay, what would it be like if we laid out the framework and tried to nail it in our ideal mindset? And as far as I'm concerned, we fucking did it.
You should, when you put all this together, you should put together like the actual thing, and then put together not even band related things, just all the awful things we say.
Like only we watch it.
Yeah.
No, it should be accidentally leaked once we're famous. It should be a reel that makes all of us look like the worst assholes. Like,
my God.
So people are like, oh my
Make
God,
us look
I can't
terrible.
believe I listened to that.
You know what would be awesome is if we did that, we leaked it, and then people found out later after they made their opinions about us that we leaked it. So they're like, it just looks wicked smart or something like that. It looks like we're like just
sociopaths are brilliant. I can't.
yeah.
Where are we going for ice cream?